Hi, I'm Kevin Rutherford. Welcome to RG's Talent Tips. Today I'm going to show you how to source talent strategically. It should not come as any surprise that companies today really list effective recruitment as one of their top priorities, but also one of their biggest challenges, and that's for good reason. CEOs also say that finding and attracting talent is one of their top issues that keep them up at night. Hiring the right candidate for a role has never been more important as global economic conditions and business models continue to change. Companies are really struggling to find top talent at all levels of the organization. A record number of employees are actually quitting their jobs as the pandemic has really changed the mindsets of what workers expect from their companies and their roles. Kind of interesting, there was a recent report from McKinsey that said that 40% of employees say that they're likely to leave their job in the next 3 to 6 months. Even more telling, 64% of employees who are considering leaving say that they would do so without a job in hand. 38% of employers believe that attrition is actually due to compensation. So with current trends really showing a shift to like a gig or entrepreneurial mindset by the different generations, that's all generations, boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Z, it's really made finding and attracting talent more difficult as they rapidly exit the workforce. So I want you to take a quick look here. When we look at the overall, what we call the overall talent management scorecard, or the cycle for that, when we look at this, consequently, sourcing has really become one of those most critical elements of talent management. Again, we said earlier that everything starts with your business strategy. We start up here with a business strategy, and then we move over here. You see in the bold, what I've highlighted here is developing sourcing strategies. This has become one of those most critical elements for talent management. And all of these issues that I mentioned earlier mean that sourcers and recruiters really have their work cut out for them. So just for clarification, when I say sourcing, I see it as the process of identifying, searching for, and then contacting potential candidates for roles that you're either recruiting for right now or ones that you're going to be recruiting for in the future. Now, another point to keep in mind is this. Strategic sourcing generally focuses on two types of positions or situations. The first are those where the organization needs to be proactive, and then secondly, those where the organization needs time to respond. Therefore, sourcing and recruiting teams who master candidate sourcing are going to be the ones who take the lead in the competitive talent marketplace. So let's dive right in. Today, what I want to share with you is a situation that I faced as a CHRO at Michael's Arts and Crafts. With over 1,000 stores and 40,000 employees, having qualified, capable store managers were critical to the company's performance. Unfortunately, management turnover was in excess of 25% a year, and the gap between a manager's departure date and then hiring a replacement was actually killing our bottom line. The stores had traditionally handled a lot of that recruiting on their own, but given that the impact was so great, the CEO asked us to step in. So the first thing that we did is we really zeroed in on the store manager role as what we called our target job, where never out became the standard, meaning that if a manager left, the role must be filled within 14 days of opening. Those managerial roles were so critical, that became our focus. And so what we did is we came up with a campaign using a target that I'm going to show you here in a second for our staffing profile. And we called it Who's Like Mike? You can see in this little graphic here, and again, we'll provide this for you later, but the idea is we created a target. And what you see here is there are 5 rings. There's a bullseye right in the middle, and you see the M. That meant who is like Mike. That was our particular store. So we were looking for a store manager role that matched 3 different things. We wanted to make sure that the competitors and competition that we looked at competencies, meaning the knowledge, skills, and abilities that person had in their particular role versus our role in our company. The second thing we looked at then was compensation, and the compensation thing obviously was on really 2 fronts. One, your pay needs to be competitive in the marketplace. We needed to make sure it was competitive in the marketplace, and then more importantly, we must make sure that it meets our budget and not really create any equity issues. And then lastly, this is one that I think is oftentimes forgotten, but one of the most important, and that is culture. So when we talk about culture, you may remember years ago there was a study done by CLC that showed that 2/3 of an organization hire the right person for the job, yet only 1/3 hire the right person for the organization. And so that really makes a big difference. So focusing on these three areas, compensation, culture, and competencies, we're able to say, what does our role look like and where can we find those people? So what you see, again, five rings from the center, and then we created a list over here on the right that said, these are all the companies that we were going to compare against. So you'll notice that I have these different circles in here, here, and like here, around here. What you would do is you look to put in adjacent type industries. Who are other retailers, because we're in the retail business, who are other retailers that actually have store manager roles that could possibly fit for us? So one section of these, let's just say that this section over here, we're going to call this a big box stores. Now, a big box store is somebody like a Best Buy, a Home Depot, or a Walmart, very large kind of store. Another area that we might look at over here is something like, we'll say, small specialty stores, right? So if it's a small specialty store, these could be things like a Dollar General, a Joann's Fabrics, a Party City. All of these are smaller type stores that are specialty ones. Then another niche that we might look at over here would be department stores. These would be things like a Nordstrom's, a Macy's, a JCPenney, a Sears. Another area that we could look at would be what we would call a discount department store. These would be things like a Kohl's, a TJ Maxx, or a Marshall's. And then say maybe one other over here is maybe a mid-size kind of specialty store, which might be something like a Staples or a Hobby Lobby or even a PetSmart. All of those are all different kinds of retail stores in different segments that all have store manager roles. But the key is to say which ones are the best fit for the type of role that we have, our store manager role. So again, I'm going to put all these companies over here, and again for you, if you're in banking, maybe you're going to say, I'm going to look at savings and loan operations, maybe I'm going to look at brokerage institutions, all of those different kinds of things that I want to see, adjacent industries. Put everyone out there so that you've got a good sense of who the competition is and where you're going to best be able to recruit. Now, I mentioned earlier that we start at the middle with that's a bullseye, right? That's a 5. The further we go out, so it's five rings, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, meaning a 5 is a very strong match. So for us, when you start to do your addition over here, all three of these scores totaled, a very strong match is going to be 4.25 plus. A strong match is going to be 3.5 to 4.25. A moderate match is going to be 3.0 to 3.5. A weak match is going to be 2.5 to a 3.0. And then obviously a very weak match is going to be anything below a 2.5. So let's take a quick example here. Let's look at Walmart. So if I said, this is competency. So if I look at competencies and say, what are the knowledge, skills, and abilities required of a Walmart store manager? Well, obviously, if you know anything about Walmart, their stores are giant. They're 100,000 square feet. A store at Michael's was maybe 5,000 square feet. Huge difference between the two. So the scope and the level of responsibility is going to be much greater at Walmart. Obviously, that means they're going to have to manage dozens of people, multiple managers. So when I compare that job to my job and say, how close of a match is it to us? Honestly, I'm going to give it a 1, meaning that it is a very, very weak match for the job that I have. Meaning if I'm going to bring somebody over, they're actually going to be overskilled for the role that I have. The next thing that I'm going to look at, let's look at compensation, is if I'm managing a Walmart store, which has 100,000 square feet and has likely 100 employees, and I'm managing a Michael's, which may have 15 or 20 employees over a given period of time, that's a big difference in terms of scope. So I know that the compensation is going to also be very weak, because I know that in the marketplace, if I'm doing my compensation surveys, I can see that Walmart managers are paid significantly higher than my manager. Now, when we look at culture, the culture at Walmart and the culture at Michael's was similar in some ways and dissimilar in others. So as I look at it, I say, you know what, generally, that's probably about a 3. So if I look at a 3, that means that it's a moderate match. So when I add all these scores up here for them, the total becomes 5. Then I divide it by 3, and I think if that's the right math, it comes out to about 1.66%. Now, what does 1.66 mean? That means any manager, as an organization, we should not be looking to hire a manager from Walmart to come work in my store. Why? Because any one of these issues here is going to be a disconnect. It's not going to be a good fit. We're going to waste our time. And the whole goal and part of this is really 3 things. Number 1, by creating this target and then doing this mapping of all of our competitors, it allows us to look at 3 things. First is quality. Do we have an accurate match in the quality type person that we need to be successful in our role? The second key thing then really is about speed. So we talk about speed is if I'm not looking at people that are going to not be a good fit for me, I'm not wasting my time. So I'm being efficient in terms of my sourcing routine. And then lastly, the last thing that I'm really looking for is I want retention, because you just saw me mention earlier that a number of companies, people are leaving or thinking about leaving, and turnover is higher and keeps getting higher. We really want to focus on retention. So the more we can make them stay, the better the fit in terms of compensation, in terms of culture, and in terms of the role that we have. Those 3 things, that's the trifecta that enables us to really zero in and get the right person for the organization. So again, do this for all of your organizations. And ultimately what you wind up doing is you say, okay, here with the Walmart, right? With Walmart, let's do it. We know that this is a 1 out here for them. We say 1.3, so 1.66. So I'm about a 1.6 out here. Ultimately, I would start having different places like this throughout my mapping. So here I'm looking and saying these little dots or data points are all representing different companies. And when I'm looking at these companies, what I know is this. Anybody really outside here, the 4th and 5th ring, these people out here, guess what? They just got eliminated from any time on my calendar. Now, the reality is, could one of these people fit in the role that we have? Possibly. But we know by doing our exercise here that this person is either going to be a candidate, they may take the job temporarily because the compensation is not right, maybe the culture is not right, hey, I feel like I've got my skills are too great to be working here. All of those things are going to make people leave. So don't even waste your time on those that are outside of that ring. Remember, 1, a bullseye is a very strong match, a 2 is a strong match, and a 3 is a moderate match. So my real focus is going to be on 1 and 2. I left 3 there to give you some flexibility, kind of that what if. But if I were you, I'd be focusing on number 1 and number 2. So with that said, just remember that talent sourcing is the critical first step in bringing the best talent into your organizational fold. If you want to be productive in sourcing and screening and assessing candidates, you should really take the time to develop an ideal candidate profile just like this. Now, I did this for one of ours in store managers. It might be a buyer for you. It might be a financial advisor, whatever your organization. Figure those roles that are the most critical in terms of your business success. Remember strategy. Which roles drive the most value? The strategy is going to help you. This strategy that we just created here is going to help you attract better candidates, speed up your recruitment process, and get better hires, all without breaking the bank. In fact, you're going to save some money. So, sourcing and recruiting teams who master the candidate sourcing are going to take the lead in the competitive talent marketplace. If your organization is not yet creating talent acquisition sourcing strategies like this, you may want to consider adopting our approach to help ensure success. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something that you can apply right away. If you did and want more, please subscribe to our channel below and check out our website for even more content, handouts, and free tools that will take you from where you are to where you want to be. Until next time.